Alright guys, we're continuing with the FF-117V2 70mm EDF jet. So next thing I'm going to do is get the EDF ready to put in the jet. I'm going to make a thrust tube to put on the back of the EDF before I put it in the plane. What I did is I bought some 12x12 scrapbook paper. You can also use like any sort of cardstock or something like that. Anyway, I cut off 2 inches off this side of the paper. Then I rolled it around the EDF like this, and basically that's just going to slide onto the EDF once I get it into the plane, and then I'll tape it onto the plane and also put some hot glue to hold it into the bottom of the plane. Okay guys, get ready to put the EDF in here with the thrust tube. Real quick, I just made a quick little double layer piece of foam board. I'm going to sit underneath the thrust tube that it can glue to and help support it and keep it from tilting up and down. So let me get that hot glued in there, and then I'll pull back and glue the EDF and thrust tube in spot, and then it should be good and placed right. Just real quick before I glue the EDF in place, I cut a hole in the thrust tube to pull the EDF wires out. Then I'm just going to tape it back up and seal it, and then it'll be ready to glue in place. So here's a look at the inside of the plane. I did put in all the electronics now. I've got the EDF mounted with the thrust tube. I've just put my receiver back here in the back because I didn't have too many extension leads to bring it all the way up to the front, so that should be okay just for this test run at least. Got the 100 amp ESC just hot glued down with a couple dabs of hot glue. I know that's not optimal to have it all in the airway where the EDF is, but that will give it some cooling with the airflow over it. I did put in the cheater hole on the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see that. So it's a 3D printed little piece that just goes in the bottom. That'll be another vent to give air to the EDF. If you guys don't have a 3D printer, you can probably just cut some sort of hole on the bottom and maybe put a screen or mesh material over it to keep out any rocks or anything. But anyway, that's where that's at. I've got the 2 servos, one on each side right now. I've still got to connect the control horns to the elevons. But anyway, it's ready to put in or put on the top of the plane. So anyway, that's a quick look at it. I'm going to hot glue the lid on and go from there. Okay guys, well I did paint the plane, and that was one of my big mistakes. I was trying a new paint I thought would be okay. It was a water-based paint, but unfortunately it did shrink some of the foam board, so my fitting wasn't the best, and it definitely frustrated me. So I just kind of threw this together real quick, but it should be good enough to at least do a test flight, get some of the basic things worked out, and check out the flight characteristics. But anyway, let's take a look inside. Did create just a simple hatch with a magnet on the back, and there's a magnet inside that foam board there, and it helps hold it down. So it does have the 100 amp old Turnigy K-Force ESC. There's the 70mm EDF. That's kind of an older one too. It's a Dr. Mad Thrust from Hobby King. Like I said, it's rated at 1300 watts on 4S battery. Definitely if you have a bigger battery, I'm sure it'll pull closer to that. The battery, it didn't have to go super far forward. It actually came pretty far back, and this is with the 2800 milliamp battery that I have. Okay, so currently the CG is 21¼ inches back if you measure it from the tip of the nose this way, or you can go straight from the nose straight back, and it's about 19½ inches. So I got it to balance with the kind of cheap battery that I had. This is only a 2600 milliamp battery, which is really probably too small. I probably would recommend at least a 3000 milliamp hour battery to get better performance out of this EDF. But this is what I have right now, so that's what's going to be going in for the test flight. Here's the air duct in the back, or the exhaust duct I should say. So it'll be pretty hidden when it's flying. Like I said, you can't really see it, but it's going to have a nice straight through pass through for the air to exit out the back. I'm sure you guys, once the plans come out, if you want to modify it, I'm sure you could just squish down the thrust tube and make it come out the small slots, maybe make them a little bigger. That might work. But right now I just wanted to try and keep it most efficient for this EDF to do the test flight, see how it flies and stuff like that. Okay, I also made some quick 3D printed parts for a small vortex generator that goes on the top, on the front of the fuselage. And I also made just a small 3D printed part for the hatch grip. So it's pretty much almost like the front vortex generator. So that just hot glues in there and helps you lift it up easy. Okay guys, here's a quick view of the bottom of the plane. That gives you a good grasp of what the cheater hole looks like on the bottom. Again, this is a 3D printed part. If you guys don't have a 3D printer, you could probably just, you know, cut a hole and maybe put some sort of screen material over it or something like that. But I will include that model free on the website once we get the plans updated and finished. You can see this does have the angled bottom plate. I'm not so sure how good this shows in the video, but I definitely like it. It helped it fly a lot better, and also looks a little bit more scale, you know, have some sort of contours on the bottom. Vertical thrust test 1. So it looks like it has right about 1-to-1 power to weight ratio. It pushing itself up a little bit, so that's good. Okay guys, I just finished doing that quick thrust test, and then after that I did a test with the voltmeter and wattmeter to see what type of power and amps and stuff I'm pulling. Right now I don't have the best batteries. I only have a 2800 milliamp 4S rated at 60C, and these aren't the greatest. I mean, I'm thinking if you go up probably at least to a 3000 milliamp battery, you know, I'll have a lot less voltage sag. But anyway, here was the numbers. The test when I did it, it was pulling 68.02 amps. My volt starting was 16.65 volts. And then under full power, it dropped down to 13.92 volts. So, you know, that's almost a 3-volt drop. So that's a pretty big drop. Definitely better batteries will help keep those numbers up, and it probably give me a lot more wattage and amps out of the battery. But anyway, I was pulling 965 amps inside the plane, and that was very similar when I tested the motor outside the plane. So I don't think it's getting restricted air to it, so it seems like it had pretty good airflow with the cheater holes and the vents that it has. I think just putting a better battery in hopefully would get the watts up to near the 1300 watts that this motor is rated at. Okay guys, that'll pretty much finish up this video for the build of this new FF-117 version 2 70mm EDF. I'm going to try and get out to do the maiden flight as soon as I can, so hopefully expect that maybe in about a week or so, weather permitting and time allowing. So thanks again for joining me, and stay tuned. We'll get this plane test flown, and hopefully the plan's finished up, you know, within a few weeks. Thanks for watching RC Foam Fighters. See you guys again soon.